How you guys doing? I'm Kasande Chishimba, and this is the Urbane Outlook. So this week in the NBA owners approved of a rule change that will switch the NBA Finals format from the 2-3-2 format to the 2-2-1-1-1 format. And this is a rule that had been in existence for almost 30 years now, but they're switching back to the old way, which makes the NBA Finals format the same as all the other playoff rounds. So that's pretty cool. A lot of people wanted it. A lot of people thought that the rule was archaic at this point. So I'm not going to dig too much deeper into the old rule, but if you like, you can read more about it below. Put a link down there for you to read if you don't know about the history of the rule and you just want to read up on it. So my purpose of this video is to talk about a rule that I would like to see more so tweaked as opposed to adding a new rule. I'm a huge NBA fan, but a problem that I have with the NBA is that sometimes during the regular season, it seems very much like a drag. I mean, most times people talk about, I don't watch it until after the Super Bowl and, this, that, and the other. And I understand that, football, America is a football country. We love our football. I love football. You love football. We all love football. And football, we can't deny, is a better product than the NBA. I'm sorry. Anybody could try to argue that. I mean, I don't know why you would argue that. But to me, and to a lot of people, the NFL product is just a more appealing product than the NBA. But one thing that I do think would help the NBA move in the right direction is a rule change I was thinking about, the determining factor of home court advantage in the finals. Now, currently, home court advantage in the NBA Finals is determined by, the usual tiebreakers. So first, it's regular season record. Then if they're tied for regular season record, then it goes to head-to-head. Then after head-to-head, I believe it goes to their conference records, and so on and so on and so on, into more and more obscure tiebreakers. But I think that something that would help the regular season games have more meaning, because to hit that point right there, the NBA lacks important regular season games. Even within the marquee matchups are great, but the attraction factor in the marquee matchups is more so the exhibition as opposed to the competition and the importance of the game. So when you're watching a game such as Chicago versus Oklahoma City, you're more so watching it for the sense of, I want to see, Kevin Durant and Westbrook versus, D Rose and Luol Deng and, so on and so forth. But you're not watching because of the importance of the game, because either team can lose and really in the overall standings, it wouldn't mean too much. But I think that restructuring the NBA Finals tiebreaker format would eliminate that and make regular season games a little bit more interesting. And I think that it will be in a way that would actually be considered fair. Now, the MLB, Major League Baseball, they changed their World Series home field advantage format, but it was looked at, and it still is kind of looked at, as cheesy, with making the All-Star game the determining factor for who has home field advantage. They're like, can you really do that? Like, it's cheesy because they were having, bad ratings in the All-Star game, so now they came up with the whole, this time it counts. And a lot of people looked at it and still look at it like, come on, like you're reaching. But I think that switching the NBA Finals format in the way that I think it actually makes sense and is very fair. So the way I think it should be done is, I think it should be determined by head-to-head matchup first. Then, if they're tied head-to-head, then it goes into their interconference records. And then if their interconference records are tied as well, then it goes just to pure regular season. And I think the reason why that'll help a whole lot is because it just simply raises the competition and it raises the intrigue in a regular season game, knowing that it can actually determine the NBA Finals should these two teams meet. So, for instance, if you're watching San Antonio and Miami last year. Now, it's a perfect example of last year because there was a game, I believe, in their first matchup meeting in Miami was when Popovich decided to rest his starters, or I believe, like 3 of his starters. I think it was Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker. I think it was those three guys, if I'm not mistaken. And Miami ended up winning that game. But imagine if he would have played them knowing that it was an opportunity that, they could possibly meet in the finals. It changes the entire dynamic when there's actually something at stake. And that is one of the biggest hollow points in the NBA regular season, is that it seems like sometimes there's nothing at stake. It seems like you're just playing the games and the pieces always just kind of fall where they will. But it's nothing more outside of that. And that leaves the regular season a little bit lackluster. It's cool to watch for the highlights and to watch, certain winning streaks and players playing well, but there's just not enough weight in individual games that make these marquee matchups that much more important. And I think that it would be great to add that, because now when you're watching a game such as the Spurs versus the Brooklyn Nets, they're kind of looking at each other like, we could actually meet in the finals. There's a possibility, so we need to be on our A game, because if we lose this game, or if we lose this second game to you, then, we could end up having to play game 7 at your house as opposed to our house. And one thing that you can never duplicate is the intensity of true competition. When you watch the NBA, or if you just watch any sport period, but specifically basketball, when there's less at stake, the competition goes down and the product just becomes worse. You can see it. Teams give up faster. Teams, the defense goes down. The intensity just goes right to the basement. But when their team's actually playing for something, playing for their lives, playing for something that means something, the level of competition goes through the roof and it becomes something that's great to watch. And that's the problem. I mean, you have a lot of avid NBA fans who love the game and will watch under any circumstances. But even if you're the biggest fan, or even if you're just a novice fan, people just want to see guys trying their hardest. And there are stats to support that changing the rule is fair, because the conferences simply are not a level playing field. Let's go over some numbers. In the past 5 years, the Western Conference has produced 47 500 and above teams and 24 teams that have won 50 or more games. In the same time span, the Eastern Conference has only produced 37 500 plus teams and 14 50-win teams. So the numbers pretty much verify what we already knew. All regular season records are not created equally, and that is especially true in the NBA Finals, where the two participants pretty much played inverted schedules. So I think this new rule, it would make it fun, it would make it fair, it would make it more competitive, and with more competition, it becomes more compelling, more intriguing to watch. So I would like to know what you think. I've kept you long enough, so I would like to see your comments, share it with your friends, and spread it around, and hopefully this creates a nice, good, widespread conversation, and maybe next year or the following year, we'll see the NBA Finals home court team determined a little differently. So, I'm Kasande, I'm checking out.